Hey guys, take a cork and hold it under the water. Do you have an image of that in your head? Okay, good. That's the way most people are living their lives, in a very unnatural state. The cork wants to float, but you're not going to let it. The natural state of the cork is to pop to the surface and to float, but you won't let that happen. Why? Why won't you do that? Why are you holding your cork under the water? I know it feels normal to do this because so many of us are doing it. Most of the world is doing it. They're holding themselves under the water. They're causing all this resistance. But it feels normal because all these people are doing it, but that doesn't mean that it's normal. That doesn't mean it's natural. It's unnatural because it's the opposite of what we should be doing. It's the opposite of natural. So when you let go of the cork, it pops right to the surface. That's pretty much as complicated as this subject gets. It's as complicated as it gets. When you let go of the cork, it pops to the surface. So how do we go from here? So I heard someone give this example, and it's actually a really good example. So imagine you decide that you want to install a swimming pool in your backyard. So you call up the contractor, and the contractor comes to your house, and he shows you a picture of a backhoe, right? The machine that you use to get into the ground and dig all of the dirt out of there. And he says to you, I can use this machine to dig out the pool. It'll take us about 2 days and we can start pouring the cement. And then he pulls out a teaspoon out of his back pocket and he says, or I could use this. The choice is yours. You tell me, which way would you rather me go forward with this project? So what would you tell the contractor? Would you tell him, sure, let's use the teaspoon? Or would you say, of course, the backhoe is the better choice here, 2 days. I'm not going to have you dig out with a teaspoon. I don't want this to take forever because obviously it's going to take a lot longer, right? What would you choose? You would choose the path of least resistance. You would choose to use the leveraged tool in order to achieve the task of digging out that swimming pool faster. But when it comes to our lives, when it comes to most people's lives, this isn't the case. That isn't what we do. We choose to use the teaspoon to dig out the dirt. There's so many different ways that we go about certain things, and most of the time, we are holding that cork under the water and we're choosing to use the teaspoon in order to dig that hole. But the question is why? Why do we do that? Why is it that we use the teaspoon? Why is it that we hold the cork under the water? The natural state is for the cork to pop out of the water on its own. All we have to do is let go, but instead we constantly hold it down, thinking that we know better, thinking that we should work harder. This is what we do. But why? Why is it that we do this every single time? Why can't we use our powers? Why can't we use the path of least resistance, use our leveraged energy? And maybe it's because most of us don't even know that we have power. Maybe it is because we don't know we have leverage. We choose the teaspoon in order to find a new job, in order to receive more money by earning or working harder. Maybe we're so used to doing things the hard way. Maybe we're so used to digging holes with teaspoons that we don't even realize that we have a backhoe that could get the job done sooner, called our inner being, our attractive force, our powers. Maybe we don't know that. We have the ability to use our inner being. We have the ability to use our superpowers in order to attract the things that we want a lot faster and a lot easier. We forget that we have these superpowers. We forget that we have this attractive force, this leverage that's within us. We forget, right? And because we forget, we end up going about it from the hard way. We grab that teaspoon, we start digging at it, and we start building a business from scratch and trying to figure out how we're going to get employees and how we're going to afford this or how we're going to get that and how we're going to get more clients. Or we go about a job and we think, okay, well, I have this job and I'm getting paid XYZ and I would like to have, $5 million in my bank account. I don't know how I'm going to get from here to there. And the only thing I can think of is to just keep working harder instead of using our attractive force because I just didn't know it was there. Or even if we do know it's there, that's the worst part, right? So say we do know we have our attractive power, Let's say we do know how to use our attractive power, but yet we still choose to hold the cork under the water. We still choose to use the teaspoon because we say it's difficult. It's challenging, it's hard, it's difficult to do. Is it difficult for us to listen to the sound of an air conditioner machine and just quiet our mind and just sit down and relax? Is that difficult? I'm going to tell you a little story. So years ago, when I first started up my shop, my brother was helping me with the law of attraction. And I used to meet with him early in the morning. I used to meet with him at the Starbucks, which was about 5 minutes down the road from my shop. Luckily, I had someone to open the shop that would man the shop and get, things done, customers in, speak to them over the phone, but it still wouldn't operate efficiently without me being there, right? I was the technician. I was the guy working on the cars. I knew what to do. I knew what to order. So without me being in my business, it wouldn't function. But yet my brother convinced me, because I was studying law of attraction, I was understanding what it was, and I knew what it meant to use law of attraction, but I still chose to use the teaspoon back then. I still chose to hold the cork under the water, because even though he's saying, hey, come, let's do this, let's visualize, let's create a dream board, let's focus on where you expect yourself to be, right? Law of expectation, where you expect yourself to be, as opposed to talking about where you are and living where you are right now. Let's do this. Let's spend at least an hour doing that per day, twice, maybe twice a week, 3 times a week. But he would say, hey, let's go do that. And I'm telling you, I used to go there. It took a while first for me to actually take the time to go do it, because I felt this anxiety that I had to work at the shop. I had to be there in order to make money, in order to be successful, in order to be responsible, right? Because it's almost like society says it's irresponsible. You own a repair shop, you own a business, and you're not there. If you don't have the guys working for you, then what are you doing? What kind of irresponsible is that for you to go and hang out at Starbucks with your brother talking about Lamborghinis and yachts and flights to Dubai and all this stuff? Why are you doing that? Why are you talking about your business being successful when it's currently not successful, when you're the one doing all the work? Why would you waste that hour of your day to do that? And I'm telling you, when I would do it, it would be so challenging, because I would be there and I would almost be zoning him out, right? I want to listen, and I am listening, and I'm understanding what he's saying, and I'm writing in my book, and I'm imagining, and I'm visualizing, but my mind kept pulling me back to the shop, thinking I got to be there. If I'm not there, I'm not making money. And I had already done research. I had spent a few years understanding law of attraction, understanding how to do it, what it meant, how to apply it. But even then, still knowing all of those things, it was still a challenge to push myself to the boundary of leaving my responsible life and doing something that I felt was irresponsible. What is ironic about this is that going to the shop was actually me holding the cork under the water. It was me digging with the teaspoon. Yet going to the Starbucks, creating visualizations, talking about the things that I want to do, the things that I'm doing as if I've already done them, spending that time to write what I'm grateful for and what I appreciate, spending all of that time felt like a waste of time, but that was the leverage. That was giving me and helping me recognize my superpowers. And it wasn't until years later that I realized that letting go of situations that don't feel good to you is releasing the cork and letting it bob to the surface. And once you let the cork bob to the surface, that's when an idea will come to you. That's when things start to work themselves out. That all that time you spent on marketing or this idea or that idea, all that time I spent going against the current, holding the cork under the water and using the little teaspoon, all that time I spent was using unleveraged energy. But yet the moment I let go of the cork and took a trip to Aruba with my family, everything started to turn and work for itself. Everything started to align and more customers came. And maybe certain things have to break down first, right? I had to close one of my earlier shops when this was going on. And then I ended up moving to another shop and it worked out even better. It was a better location, a better highway location. You know, customers followed me. There was so many things, right? I'm not going to get all into my story, but the point is that once you let go of the cork, things start to work out, that you allow your superpowers to start to kick in. So it doesn't make sense to me now, knowing this. I can't understand why someone wouldn't want to use their superpowers. The only excuse I can think of is the fact that you don't know that you have them, that you don't know. So before I do anything now, this is a reminder. Again, whenever I'm talking to you guys, I don't care if no one listens to this. I don't care if I don't get one like. It's not about that. I'm talking to myself and anyone else who wishes to hear what I'm saying. And the reason I'm saying this is because we forget. We forget on a regular basis. Our job is to just get better. Each time, just get a little bit better. Remember a little bit more of what we learned, and learn that before we do anything we're going to do, that we should use our superpowers. We should prepare for our powers. We should use our leveraged energy before we do anything. And how do we do that? Simply meditation. It sounds complicated, but it's actually the most simplistic thing. Just sitting down for 10, 15 minutes in a quiet space, putting on your earbuds, listening to white noise or the sound of an air conditioner. It's just, all meditation is blocking other thoughts. You want zero thought. You want to just keep pushing out other thoughts. So when something comes into your head, you immediately dismiss it and try to refocus on the sound that you're hearing, the nothingness. That's what you want to listen to. Spend 10, 15 minutes listening to nothingness. And when an idea pops into your head, dismiss it. When something else pops to you, oh, I got to pay this bill, dismiss it. When someone, oh, I got to call this person, dismiss it. It's a series of dismissings. That's all it is. That's all meditation is. It sounds more complicated. We think, we're sitting like a monk. The point of the sound is because it's the sound of the air conditioning, and that's what's giving you that distraction from the other thoughts that are coming into our heads. So clear all that. Simple meditation, that will be my number one recommendation as far as getting into that unified energy source state, the vortex, the space where you're able to connect with your superpowers, with your powers, to be able to be in alignment with anything. So when you come out of that state, then you go on and you go do something. And you listen to those things. We're not talking about creating something like ginormous here. We're not talking about that. We're talking about doing simple things like, hey, I just came out of my meditation. Oh, I would love to go get some ice cream. Go get some ice cream. Go eat it. Because along the way, you're going to bump into someone. You're going to bump into something. You're going to end up in some circumstance, people, circumstances, and events. That's how it works. You run into people, you end up in certain circumstances, or you go through some sort of event that leads you down a path towards a leveraged, superpowered event that causes you to get closer and attract what it is that you desire or what you're asking for. So you're taking that spoon, you're throwing it away, and you're getting the backhoe and you're digging out the dirt that way. And it sounds super complicated because it's super simple. And most of us we're not used to the fact that things can be simple. We're not used to that. We want complication. We want to be more engaged in things. I want to physically go and I want to physically contact a lawyer about opening up a business and going on to the website, and I want to figure all this stuff out, and I want to talk to this person and that person. We want all this engagement because we are physical beings and we enjoy the action of things. But we don't want to do things from an action-oriented state only. We want to do things from an inspired action. If we're inspired to do something, then go ahead and do it. And I'm like I said before, the inspiration could be to go get some ice cream. The inspiration could be to go for a walk with your dog or go for a bike ride with your kid. That could be the inspiration. But we feel guilty in the process of doing that. Maybe because of outside people, maybe because our wives or our children are saying that we should be doing something, right? Maybe society has taught us that we're the man in the family and we should be working hard to provide for our families. Or for women, maybe the same connotation. You might be thinking the same thing. Well, I should be working hard. I need to provide. Not saying that you shouldn't, not saying that you won't. I'm not saying for you to quit your job. I'm not saying for you to just not take care of your family. But in the process of doing it, you can think differently. Use leverage. I used to work at the post office years ago. And when I was there, it was funny. The first year or two was great. I was so excited that I had a government job, right? A pension for the future. And I'm not making fun of that. That's actually a great way to live your life and to create security and stability for you and your family. Not making fun of it at all. It just wasn't for me, right? I felt it from the day I started, from the week or 2 weeks after. I just felt the energy wasn't there, right? It felt restricting to me. It felt like I should be doing something else. I should be somewhere else, right? So for me, it wasn't like I just quit the next day and said, this isn't for me, which maybe that would have been better, right? That might have been better. That might have been the better way to go. But I didn't do that. Why? Because I was afraid, because I didn't have the thoughts or knowledge that I had superpowers at the time. I knew about law of attraction, but I didn't know to that degree, how to do it or what to do with it, right? I put maybe too much pressure on myself. I felt like I needed to have something set up before I were to leave, right? I had a wife. I had other things going on, right? So I wasn't going to just leave. But let me tell you something. I would say I spent almost every day talking about retiring. If anybody knows me from the post office, you can vouch for me and talk to and say, I was the crazy guy. I was the one that was talking about retiring, and I was there for 4 years, 3 years maybe. And I was talking about retiring. I was hanging out with this guy. His name was Victor, and he was in the process of wanting to retire and waiting to retire, right? He had his time. And because I hung out with him, I had the energy, the vibration of retirement. Right. So how does someone that's been working at a place for 3 or 4 years even think about retirement? Right. Can they retire? Right. Retiring isn't necessarily have to be them giving me money, but retiring is from I'm putting that to rest, that position to rest. Right. That's to retire that position. So I felt I was going to retire that position. And that's what other people that were doing that had their years were going to retire their position. So this guy, Victore, we used to joke around, and he was in the retire mindset. And I remember clearly, I decided, and I would say, oh, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna quit, And we all say that, right? We're gonna say, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and we're fearful or we don't do it or whatever. And I'm not saying to do it, but for probably a good 2 years, I kept saying to myself, I'm going to retire from here. Long story short, I was at a point where my wife was pregnant with my daughter. She was, I think, 9 months pregnant. And I started doing a side business, fixing Mercedes vehicles with my car, going and driving to their driveways. And those who know me from the early days remember that. And I remember attracting or receiving money a lot easier in that way. I felt more free. I felt better in doing that, right? So I had that, I was lucky enough to have that coming into play while I was thinking this, but it didn't happen right away, right? It took a year or 2 years for these things to start to manifest. And I remember saying to myself, that's it. I took my Family Medical Leave Act time off, my sick time, my vacation time. And I said, you know what? I'm going to use that time to explore being on my own and not working anymore for the post office. And When I did that, within about 2 weeks, my energy was just different. I felt that superpower, right? That leverage. And when I did that, I remember the day, and if you ask my wife, I'm sure she would remember the day that I came to her and said, you know what? I'm going to quit. I'm not going to work at the post office anymore. I'm going to retire. Within 1 hour of me saying that, I get a call from Victor, from Victiore. And Victor calls me and says, hey, Nelson, what's up? And I say, hey, what's up, Victor? And he goes, you're not going to believe this. And I say, what? He's like, the post office has come out with a bulletin with a package. They're offering $15,000 for people to quit, to retire. So he says, the funny part is it was meant for people that had been here for 15 or more years, and they made a mistake in the contract, and it says anyone can use it and leave. Now, don't get me wrong. Depending on where you are in your financial life, $15,000 can be a little bit of money or it can be a lot of money. For me, it was a help, but it wasn't the end all be all. If anyone else who was looking to keep their job saw $15,000, it would have not made sense, especially after taxes. It wouldn't have made any sense to take that money to retire. You can't retire off of $15,000. But I looked at it as a breadcrumb, as with 1 hour prior, I was already going to quit. And then after that 1 hour, I get a notification from the universe saying, here, there you are. You were going to quit. Here's your evidence that you should do that. Here's your evidence that you should move forward. That was people, Victor. Circumstances shifted, right? I started to feel more abundant. I started to feel more comfortable, and feeling my superpowers were present of me being on my own, being that entrepreneurial self. And 3, events started to unfold, which was the event of the document saying that we want people to retire. And the words were retire. Now, I shouldn't have been able to retire, but I was able to retire or quit, whatever you want to call it. But it was an offer presented to me and some exit liquidity to go on to my next venture. So I didn't want to dive too deep into my own stories, but I want you to think about some of the things that have happened to you, because every one of us has a story and we probably aren't thinking about it. We're not connecting the dots. You need to look back and start connecting the dots of what has happened to you in the past. It's not by accident. If you're constantly running into trouble, you're attracting that trouble. And I know it's hard to hear. It's hard for me to hear. I'm like, what did I do wrong? I didn't do anything. I'm like, I'm doing this. I know about law of attraction. I know what I'm doing. And sometimes the path of least resistance is breaking down stuff that's good now, but yet there's something better on the other side of that wall. So, you really can't, I don't want to say you can't or can do anything. The point is that you really want to just relax, allow. And I get made fun of from my family all the time because they always tell me, what do you do all day? You don't do anything. You drive around, you do this, you do that. You're barely at the shop anymore, right? I'm barely at the shop anymore, so I can actually spend more time at Starbucks playing around with visualization and ideas and creating things that I want to create. And I'm not doing this to boast. I'm not doing this to throw it in anyone's face. Because if anyone looked at where I am and where my business is, they would say it's still irresponsible for me to do that. Am I able to do it? Yes. I'm grateful for those who allow me to do that. My partners that work with me here at the shop, because I don't call my employees. They're my partners. They work with me. There's a mutual benefit. There's a mutual benefit between them and I. And I want you to understand that also. Remember that. There is always a mutual benefit, right? Whatever that might be. It might look like pay to someone. They work, they get paid. right? That might be their benefit. They may be looking at me and saying, well, what are you doing? And how are you doing that? And learning, because I encourage anyone who works with me, not for me, but with me, to raise themselves as well. I want them to raise their energy. Invite me to a project, bring me on to an idea and say, hey, this is my business idea. Would you like to help me? And if I'm able to, absolutely, why not? Right? You don't have to be the employee. Right? I aim for all the people that work with me to aspire. Not everyone has the drive. Some people want to be the employee. Some people want to be the worker. They just want to work, punch in, punch out, and go home. And there's nothing wrong with that. Focus on your other aspect of your life. Focus on your family or whatever else you want to do, your enjoyment. But if you use leverage, if you use not financial leverage, if you use your energy leverage, then you can become more powerful and everything can go more downstream. So I'm going to leave you off here by saying and reminding you, are you holding your cork under the water? Are you using a teaspoon to dig that pool? Ask yourself, are you doing it? And if you are, ask yourself why. And if the excuse is because you don't know any better, then learn. Learn something else. Spend some time instead of watching Netflix on self-discovery content. Stuff like this. I'm not saying you just listen to me, listen to whatever, but search, play around, spend more time on you, invest in you, and find out what it is that you can do. I'm going to try to provide you with as much information as I can through examples, through playing, right? It may look like I'm playing, right? It may look like I'm not doing anything. Like my daughter always says, Dad, what do you do all day? You know, or my son says, I want to go with you for bring your son to work day because you don't do anything. I get to watch TV or do something. I mean, we're going to go do something. But the point is that I want you to understand when we do spend more time on visualization because your past thoughts create your present and your present thoughts create your future. There's a pulley system there. Your thoughts in the past create your present, and then you think about the past, and then you go back to your present. So everything you think about from the past creates the present, and you keep going on this never-ending circle, this pulley system, over and over and over again. But if you start thinking about your future, you bring it to the present. Future, present. Future, present. It's a huge difference. There are memories of the past that we think about and we hold with us. Some tragedy, some happiness, some education. Memories is the key. But there are also memories of the future. And that is visualization, dreaming, dream building. That's visualization of the future. Those are future memories. As you start to create those future memories, you start to imprint those future memories. They imprint on your present self, and you start to walk into your future as opposed to walking into your past. Let go of the past. If it doesn't help you, let it go. It's not easy, but let it go. Let go of the cork. Let it pop to the surface. Focus on the future. That pulley's way better. Cut the pulley to the past. Get rid of it. It's not necessary. It's unnecessary. The only reason that we can look at the past is to look at the difference of what we did not want. We experienced something that we didn't like, which helped us to throw a rocket of desire into the universe to create something that we do want. We're here to play. That's why we came to this earth. That's why we came here. We came here to play, to create, to have fun, to enjoy, to have fun with our family, to love our families, to love enjoying the physical aspects. It's not wrong to enjoy the physical aspects. It's not wrong to have more money. It's not wrong to help people. These are the things that we're here for. We're not here to struggle. We're not here to worry. We're not here to complain. We're not here for any of that. We're here to have fun. We're here to keep going. And man, there's just so much stuff. And I don't want to cram it all into one video because it's just so much, but we're kind of going in this direction. And I'm going to give you my philosophy on life. Very simply put, this is what I believe. Some of you know me. Some of you know that my mother passed away when I was 14. And it was difficult for us, and I think that's where my brother kind of went into that, law of attraction, educational like trend to learn, because he was trying to grasp onto something, and luckily he was able to get through to me to help me. But anyways, the point of this story is what I believe when we pass. Okay, let's not even start about when we pass. Before we're born, imagine this. We are in this non-physical form, right? We're not in a body. I don't want to call it heaven, because everyone has different religions, but I'm going to say we're in a non-physical state. You could call that heaven. You could call it whatever your religion calls it, right? We're in a non-physical state. And we are searching and excited as these non-physical beings to get a body, to become, to have a vessel, like a car, right? A vehicle. I can't wait to get a car, get my license so I can drive. Think about that. You're waiting on the DMV line and you can't wait. You get your license, you get the picture. All right, I got my license finally. Well, that's what it feels like when before you're born, and you're just kind of sitting in this space and you're like, I can't wait. So from my understanding, we choose our parents and we want to come into this space, and we find this energy and we align with this energy, and then we get on this line and then we're born. Now we get here and we forget all about what we knew in a non-physical state. That bliss, that energy, it's a whole different form, right? There's a disconnect now because we were born into this physical world. Now we have a physical body. We grow up. We start learning what our parents are teaching us and what they're telling us to do. And along the way, we start to forget what we knew in our non-physical state. We've started to forget what it feels like to be connected to this source energy, this power, this superpower that we spoke of. We forget. But as a baby, we have it. That's why we're safe. Most of the time we are comforted. Even if our parents leave us, we still find someone finds and cares for us. We forget over time because we're taught away from what I'm trying to teach you now. We're taught away from it. We're taught to work hard. We're taught to obey our parents, which, again, all good things. But I think our parents are more focused on what they want for them, being selfish, and they want us to do what they want, to comply. And they're not so worried about what we really want and our happiness. So anyways, that's a long story. But the point is that we forget along the way. By the time we get to a conscious state where we're developing our minds and actually starting to comply with society, we forget all about it. And then we're out of alignment. Unless if our parents are helping us to align, we're out of alignment. So anyways, my point being is that we live our entire lives and we are always feeling that disconnect or connection to our source, which is our non-physical self. And when we finally get to the point where we feel like something's off, when we feel the connection, that discord, that feeling of something's off, that's actually us separating from our non-physical self, our higher power self, our superpower side. So that's one thing. But here's what I believe. We're here, we came here to this earth because this is the leading edge. It's like getting a Tesla or getting a new computer, getting anything electronic, anything that's brand new, the leading edge, right? We want the best of the best. The new purse, if you're a woman, right? A new car, if you're a guy, or some women too, right? We want the best of the best. That's what this is. That's what the planet Earth is. That's why we came here, because this is the leading edge. This is the best of the best. This is where we're able to take thought and turn it into physical things. We can't do that over there, right? We're in a great place, don't get me wrong, but just because we're in a good place here doesn't mean we don't want to go to Six Flags. Doesn't mean we don't want to visit Disney or go on vacation, right? There's nothing wrong with going on vacation. So here we are on Earth on vacation. We're here to have fun, enjoy ourselves, to turn thoughts to things, to create, not to worry about somebody else, not for them to tell us that we're not good, or for us to think poorly of ourselves, to have remember the conversation. When we're having the conversation with ourselves, what are we thinking? How are we talking to ourselves? We're not here to talk bad about ourselves. We're here to build ourselves up, to enjoy, to help others, to love, right? That's what we're here for. And along the way, we're here to have fun. And what happens when we pass? So when we finally pass, we go off back to non-physical. We're back in this non-physical state, and we're all sad and we're upset, right? I was very sad when my mother passed away. You know, it was I didn't show it, but it was tough. It was tough for me to deal with. But the point is that it's no longer tough for me because I know now that what happens when we pass, we go back to this non-physical state where there's no time, right? We can go through forward and back in time. There's no relevance of time, right? We don't have to worry about any of that. And when we're in this space, we're also now sitting, picture this. I picture a football field, a football stadium or a baseball stadium, right? The entire fans, all the fans, the stands, all the seats are filled with those who have passed. Those that have not been born and those who have passed. Those are all the people that are sitting on the sides. And the people that are on the field are us. We are the ones on the field. We're the ones playing. The question is are you in the dugout? Are you on the sidelines? Or are you on the field? You got to ask yourself that question because the point is to be on the field. And guess what? When you get on the field, all that energy, the source energy that I'm talking about, the powers, the magic, the superpowers are coming from all those non-physical energies that are all over the stands. They want you to succeed. They want you to have fun. They want you to create. They want you to help, love, all these fantastic things. They want you to have money. They want you to do all these things. They're rooting for you. And when you're not in alignment with it, they're not upset. You're human. You are who you are. It is what it is. You just have a disconnection from them at that moment, and it's okay. But when you do connect, now you have your superpowers. Now you have that energy that creates worlds. Now you're no longer using the teaspoon. So you see how important it is for you to use the superpowers, for you to recognize that you even have superpowers, for you to recognize. And I think if you think from this, again, I'm not telling you to change your beliefs. I don't mean to insult anyone. This is my belief. But it's a beautiful belief. It changes how you think about the people that pass on. Yes, it's sad that they've parted with us in this physical world, but they really haven't. I believe heaven is here on earth in a different realm, in an energy realm. And we are energy. We are vibration. So why not tap into that? Tap into that superpower and use that collaboration of all the energy that has ever existed in the universe from the beginning of time to create your next venture, to have fun on your next trip, to help your family, to receive a boatload of money if that's what you're looking for, to get your next job. Let's do that. And that's what I'm saying. Collaboration, energy, love. Do it together. I think that's all I got for today, man. It was a lot. Hopefully this really helps just one person. Follow, like, subscribe, whatever it is you want to do. If you think this message could help someone, anyone else, share it. It's as simple as that. Change your life. Stop holding that cork under the water. You got this.